want a garden so I can grow, and you can only go so far on your own. So you boys are good to go.
Great. Well, I have 4 questions.
Yeah.
And they're just cues to speak about whatever you want. It's, I'm not seeking anything other than just enabling you to talk about what you want to talk about. But I thought we might start just with the simple question of, tell us a little bit about permaculture here at Findhorn and about your specific site here, Barrel House Permaculture.
Well, there are some people in the community that would refer to themselves as permaculturists, and I'm one of them. But I actually look at the whole community as a great big classroom, and whatever aspect you're looking at permaculture, the full featured, whether you're treating your waste or generating your electricity or building houses, we've got it all. And we've got lots of good mistakes too, what to do and what not to do. But again, many people will say, well, why name it? Let everyone find their own way, their own process of capturing that sense of, self-sufficiency, but not just that, living a life that is fulfilled and full so others can simply live. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, some of the people a little more on the prepper side of things that I've studied with over the years, this last couple of years of transformation have kind of said, I told you so, we knew something was going to happen, that permaculture would be even more, relevant. And I wonder if there was any lessons from the last couple of years for you that relate to your style of permaculture or here at Findhorn or even permaculture in general, if there's any lessons about permaculture that strike you from the last couple of years.
Well, I mean, but, the tragedy of the last couple of years, whether it's COVID or, where is it? Ukraine, is that it's showing the fragility of how we're living and what we're doing. And if anything, is the doubling down the message of we have to cut back. We have to use the natural resources, whether they're sun or wind. We have to be more, you could say, self-sufficient locally. And that whole web of globalization, it's wonderful. It shows us what we've got, but at the same point, we're having no relationship. So what I see is it bringing us back to the intrinsic place of where we are and how we're living it. So it's a gift. And both those things, global warming and Ukraine and COVID, wow, it's saying, wake up, do something. So whether you use permaculture or not, I feel that the lesson is come back to your bioregion, come back to where you are and try to live within that as much as you can.
Well, one of my teachers in North America is Tom Ward. He's a Quaker. He's one of the elders. And he has this whole kind of rant about there's 3 styles of permaculture. There's kind of like the ultimate permaculture of, what you would do if there wasn't any limits. But most people don't have an opportunity to do that. Although here, in some ways, it is an expression of starting from scratch. Then there's the retrofit, which is where most people are at. David Holmgren's talking a lot about that these days of like, hey, you're already somewhere. How can you retrofit it, to make things work a little bit better? And then there's the quick fix, which Tom Ward feels is like 90% of permaculture, where it's like you got a little problem and you got to address it in the moment with the resources that you have, and it may not be the final fix. But what Tom says is you always start with ultimate permaculture, and then the retrofit and the quick fixes are kind of informed by that ultimate permaculture. They're moving forward towards it. So my kind of utopian question is, if permaculture was able to overcome its challenges and its limits, what might be possible?
Whoa. Well, I do believe that we humans can live in a sustainable way on this planet, and all those other species and everything can actually have their fair share of it. I know it's possible. And yet it's how can we, what is the wake-up bit that actually is going to get you to say, oh my God, this is not sustainable. And that can come in many ways, and COVID's a great one. That's one. I feel for those in Ukraine and all the other parts of the world where egos and personalities are being pretty destructive. So, I come back for myself though, as I come back, permaculture to me is lifestyle. And it's not just a vegetable patch. It's actually how actually am I building, living, working, what's my attitude. People say, Craig, you need a holiday. And I go, why? This is a holiday. I've got the perfect playground. I've got everything I need. The only thing that's holding me back is this part of myself that's keeping regurgitating the same stuff. And that's where I love from my Buddhist background, but not just that, my indigenous background. Not that I'm indigenous, I'm accused of cultural appropriation. We'll let this go.
I love how the birds don't stop singing.
Yeah, they haven't stopped. I mean, this, by the way, is an interesting phenomena. This was 24/7 when I first came here in the 60s. This is a major military base just across the road. We would have, when these went by, this would be our moment of silence, even though it was just filled with sound and noise. And for the first 25 years, we lived under that umbrella. And with the knowledge, the global warming thing was just kicking up and all these other things, but this was ground zero. And if the Cold War thing bubbled over, we disappeared in one blast, along with the other place along the coast. But I loved it because we were like a permanent peace camp. Even though we weren't waving a flag, we were just saying the future is to be discovered. And that was what Peter Cavity's message was, build anew, let go of the old. So that's the basis of it. Now we have this wonderful little forest and everything that you can think of. I'm living a life of Riley. I can't believe how wealthy I am, but it's a non-monetary wealth, which is the deep part. And I think that's where, within permaculture, where you start to create your village or your little community, and you get that exchange and support in many, many different ways. And then, of course, you have the birds. There was not a sound of a bird here because there were no trees. It was obliterated. And I said it, there's something about if you're attracted to a place of destruction, it's saying transform it, awaken it within yourself. And that's where I come to. I can look back at my background and I could be a redneck alcoholic Australian. But another part of me said, no, there's something else more. There's loving kindness. There's all these other attitudes that I come into. Thank God for the 60s, excuse me. It helped me a lot. And now here I am, again, an opportunity with that next generation, looking after them, nurturing them, giving them what, in some part, what I never got. Not that I'm criticizing my parents, but I never got that tenderness. I never got that global aspect. That was a different time. So, yeah, transformation happens if you allow it to happen. But you've got to put some effort into it. You really do. And that's why I like sitting here. Not that this is my sit spot, but where is it that you find the place that you sit and you calm it all down and let it all go, because it's going to go. And then come back and interact and enjoy.
Perfect. Wow. Well, one more question. Fourth question, maybe. I'm going to find that book. A used copy of that book online. I mentioned we're from the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors. We work with Alex Gray, and we've been playing with this visionary permaculture idea of bringing a little bit of the spirit in. And I wonder if there was something from your first book, or if it's something you're thinking about if you wrote your next book, if you wanted to comment a little bit about the evolution of permaculture in relation to being more inclusive to the more than human world.
Yeah, that's the big one, I think, is being more inclusive to the other, everything, because we are still, the genocide of other species of all kinds, not just the animal and the insects, but everything is that's the pain. That's where I feel like when I go with Ukraine, all of a sudden I feel this deep sort of compassion, love, gratitude for what I have, but also the suffering that is taking place right across the board. So I think within that, somewhere within the question around permaculture and what can it do in releasing that suffering, healing that suffering, and it's a full spectrum approach. It's not just one thing or the other. Like right now I'm experimenting, I'm letting go of the garden that I created with the wild feral chickens and all the work that it took, and saying, okay, now what does it want to create? How can I let the garden, which is a beautiful permaculture thing. But also this community is moving from just the Findhorn Foundation, the educational trust. It's in a village now, and that was sort of hinted that we would become a village. And that village has got lots of edges in there. There's personalities, there's, this, mine, and all of the other aspects of it, but we're working with it. So what I do love, I feel, is the mixture of both psyche and soul for ourselves. It's not just the spiritual perspective or the nature perspective, but it's actually all that other baggage and stuff that you're carrying from generations. How are you processing that? And what are you doing? What are both the physical, the emotional, mental, spiritual, however that is, what are you doing to interlink them? Because it's all of that. It's right through, right down into the soil, and right up there, and right in here is the place. And my thing is I can never stop giving gratitude. Thank you. It's just one continual thank you to sit here and have these birds just going crazy. Robin, come on in. It's just spectacular. What could I end on?
Great. Wow, I'm moved. Thank you. That was perfect.
Well, just because you mentioned wanting to speak about permaculture as a lifestyle, do you have any final words on that you want to say?
Other than that, it's really important to think beyond what you're going to get from it, and it's what you can give to it, and also seeing that we are a culture of waste, and how much of that can be, that part of it can be recycled. So it's a lifestyle. I mean, people say, where do you get all this stuff to build a house? I say, well, it's everywhere. You just got to open your eyes and look, Well, how can you adapt to that? And the same with the whole gardening attitude. I never showed you my wine cellar, by the way. But I make all my wine for a year out of the land, just merely in my backyard. It's all there. So the lifestyle is integrating, and then it's my relationships with you and with everyone else, and particularly the people I'm having a challenge with. So full featured is everything you've got. Needs to be, you could say, reassessed or thought about, because it can always be refined, but not refined to the point where it's a lovely little manicured patch of a garden. You know, how can it be refined in the sense that nature actually is involved and it's a co-creative process? And that's the most important part for me.